Have you ever felt a shiver down your spine in an empty room? A sudden, cold dread for no reason at all? Every night, when the world grows quiet, a different kind of darkness stirs. It's a primal fear, a whisper from the shadows that reminds us we are not truly alone. This isn't just about things that go bump in the night. It's about the unsettling truth that some doors, once opened, can never be closed again. But these terrors, these unseen forces, didn't just appear from nowhere. Malevolent spirits, demonic entities, and vengeful ghosts. They are born from the darkest corners of human history, from ancient rituals, forgotten curses, and the echoes of unspeakable tragedies. They are the personification of our deepest anxieties, the chilling proof that some legends are rooted in a horrifying reality. For centuries, we've told their stories around crackling fires, each tale a desperate warning. We've tried to capture their likeness in grainy photographs and distorted audio recordings, seeking to understand the very nature of evil itself. These are not just campfire stories. They are accounts of real encounters, of hauntings that have shattered lives and left behind a legacy of fear. They are the legends that make us check over our shoulder, that make the silence of our own homes feel heavy and menacing. Tonight, we don't just tell stories, we journey into the abyss. We will uncover the origins of the most disturbing and well-documented paranormal cases in history, the real-life hauntings that defy explanation and continue to terrify us. We'll explore the places where the veil between our world and the next is terrifyingly thin, where the echoes of the dead still scream. So turn down the lights, tell yourself it's only a story, and let's listen to the whispers from the other side. Number 10. Skeletons, the dancing dead. Have you ever wondered why bones make us uneasy? Is it just a stark, white reminder of what lies beneath our skin? Or is it something deeper, something ancient and ingrained in our collective fear? In folklore, skeletons aren't just bones, they're the restless dead, stripped of humanity, but still walking the earth. They are the final, grinning mockery of life, an animated framework of what we once were. Unlike ghosts, which are echoes of a soul, the walking skeleton is the body itself, a vessel reanimated by some dark, unnatural force. It's a chilling violation of the natural order, a corpse that refuses to lie still. This fear finds its roots deep in history. In medieval Europe, a powerful motif known as the danse macabre, or dance of death, emerged. In countless murals, woodcuts, and poems, animated skeletons were depicted, leading people from all walks of life, kings and beggars, priests and peasants alike, to their graves. These weren't just simple horror stories. They were a profound meditation on mortality, a stark lesson that wealth and status are meaningless in the end. The skeletons, often dancing gleefully, served as a universal equalizer. They remind us of one thing: no one escapes death. The image of the dancing skeleton has persisted through the centuries, evolving from a religious warning into a staple of modern horror. Think of the skeletal warriors rising from the earth in classic fantasy films, their empty eye sockets fixed on the living, their bony fingers clutching rusted swords. They are tireless, relentless, and feel no pain. They are death, given form and purpose, a legion of the grave sent to drag the living back down with them. In In some cultures, bones are not just feared but venerated, seen as a connection to ancestors. But this reverence is always tinged with caution. In Mexican folklore, while La Calavera Catrina is an elegant, iconic figure of Dia de los Muertos, she still represents the same undeniable truth. The skeleton is the great leveler, the final face we all must meet. And on Halloween night, when the veil between worlds is at its thinnest and candles flicker in cemeteries, some say the bones still dance. They rise from forgotten tombs and lonely graves, not for a grand performance, but to relive a shadowy imitation of the life they lost. They move in silent, jerky rhythms, their bones rattling a dry, hollow tune only the dead can hear. Would you dance with the dead if they asked? Number 9. Scarecrows, the watchers of the field. This is why you should never walk past a cornfield after dark. Scarecrows were meant to keep crows away, but what if they kept something else in? In the quiet corners of rural folklore, these figures are more than just straw and old clothes. They are silent sentinels, standing guard over secrets buried deep within the soil. Legends say some are bound by ancient cursed souls of criminals or forgotten farmers, trapped in a prison of straw and burlap. Their punishment, to stand for eternity, watching over the land they once wronged. Have you ever driven down a country road late at night, the beams of your headlights catching the silhouette of a scarecrow against the stalks? You might dismiss it as a trick of the light, a figment of your tired imagination. But the stories persist. Tales from old farmhands speak of scarecrows that don't stay where they're put. They're found in different spots come morning, their button eyes fixed on the farmhouse window, their straw hands reaching just a little closer than before. They say the earth remembers, and these guardians are its memory, reenacting a silent, unseen patrol each night. At night, when the wind howls through the corn, it's easy to believe it's just the rustling of dry leaves. But listen closer. You might hear a creak of wood, a soft shifting of straw. The locals will tell you that's the sound of them twisting their heads, their painted smiles contorting as they scan the horizon for trespassers. They are not merely watching for crows, they are watching for you. They can sense the warmth of a living soul, a stark contrast to their own cold, hollow existence, and they despise it. The oldest tales warn of a specific ritual. If a scarecrow is stitched together with the clothes of a deceased person and raised on the night of a full moon, the spirit of that person becomes tethered to it. They become an eternal watcher, filled with a silent rage. Their only purpose is to guard the field, and they will drag anyone who disrespects their domain into the dirt with them, making them part of the harvest. So if you see one move when there's no wind, run. Don't rationalize it. Don't wait to see if it moves again. Just run and pray you're faster than the rustling behind you. Would you look back if the scarecrow turned toward you? Number 8. Ghosts, the restless spirits. Have you ever felt someone watching you when you're alone? A sudden chill in a warm room, a flicker of movement in the corner of your eye, the unshakable feeling that you are not, in fact, by yourself. Ghosts are humanity's oldest fear, the souls that refuse to move on. They are the echoes of life, imprinted on a place or an object, replaying a moment of intense emotion for eternity. They are the remnants of people who were taken too soon, or who died with a heart full of rage and a thirst for vengeance. They are the ones who cannot find peace, and so they ensure no one else can either. Every culture has them. Japan's Yurei, spectral figures bound by powerful emotions. Mexico's La Llorona, the weeping woman forever searching for the children she lost. America's countless white ladies eternally haunting the sites of their tragic demise. These aren't just stories told around a campfire. They are warnings, passed down through generations, about the thin veil that separates our world from the next. They appear where grief lingers, where something is unfinished. A house stained by a violent crime becomes a stage for a perpetual haunting. An old hospital, once filled with suffering, now echoes with the footsteps of unseen nurses and the faint cries of patients long since passed. Battlefields are notorious for spectral soldiers, still fighting a war that ended centuries ago. These spirits are tethered to their pain, their presence a constant, terrifying reminder of what happened. You can lock your doors, bolt your windows, and hide under the covers, but spirits don't need keys. They slip through walls like smoke, their whispers carried on the drafts that snake through your home. They don't follow the rules of the living, because they are no longer bound by them. They exist in the shadows, in the silence, in the moments when you are most vulnerable. They are a presence that can be felt but rarely seen. A cold spot in the air, the soft touch of an invisible hand on your shoulder. They say a ghost cannot harm you unless you give it power, unless you acknowledge its presence. But what happens when that presence becomes impossible to ignore? When the whispers become shouts, when the objects moving on their own are thrown with violent force. If you heard your name whispered in an empty room, would you answer? Number 7. Goblins, the tricksters in the shadows. In the dark corners of folklore, goblins lurk, small, ugly creatures that thrive on mischief and fear. They are the bump in the night, the shadow that darts just at the edge of your vision, the chilling giggle from an empty room. These are not fairy tale helpers. They are beings of malice, born from the deepest anxieties of humanity. Their forms are as varied as the cultures that whisper their names. In some tales, they are diminutive, wrinkled beings with skin the color of moss or sickened earth. In others, they are grotesque parodies of men, hunched and hairy, with long, grasping fingers perfect for snatching things that do not belong to them. But their appearance is merely a vessel for their true nature, a chaotic and cruel spirit. They steal children, spoil food, and whisper nightmares while you sleep. Imagine a cellar, shelves lined with preserves for the long winter ahead. A goblin slips through a crack in the stone, its greedy eyes gleaming. It doesn't just eat the food, it smashes jars, urinates on the grain, and leaves a trail of filth, ensuring that hunger and despair will haunt the family for months. This is their brand of artistry. In old Europe, people left milk outside their doors to appease them. It was a simple offering, a desperate plea for peace. A saucer of cream or a piece of shiny metal might buy a night free from their torments. But these packs were fragile. A forgotten offering, a soured bowl of milk, or even an unintentional slight could invite their wrath, because angering a goblin meant bad luck for life. The curse of a goblin is a creeping sickness. It begins with small misfortunes, a lost coin, a stubbed toe, a cracked mirror. Then it escalates. The livestock fall ill, the well water turns foul. Laughter in the home is replaced by suspicion and arguments as the goblins' influence poisons relationships from within. It isolates its victims, feeding on their growing misery until their lives are in ruins. They are masters of psychological torment, breaking spirits as easily as they break pottery. Their domains are the forgotten places of the world. They inhabit crumbling ruins, tangled thickets, and the damp, dark caves beneath the earth. They are creatures of the threshold, lurking in the spaces between safety and the unknown. The attic above your head, the crawl space beneath your floorboards, the closet you never open. These are all potential goblin kingdoms. Every creak of the floorboards could be their creeping footfalls, every unexplained noise a sign of their presence. Would you dare peek under your bed if you heard giggling? Number 6. Ghouls, the flesh eaters of the grave. This is why graveyards were fenced. In Arabic legend, ghouls are demons that feed on corpses, and sometimes the living bees are not the shambling, mindless zombies you might imagine. They are cunning, monstrous shapeshifters, born of shadow and malice. They dwell in the most desolate and forsaken places on earth, burial grounds, forgotten ruins, and the deepest, darkest parts of the desert where travelers lose their way. They can take human form, luring travelers into the desert before devouring them whole. Often, they appear as beautiful women, beckoning lost men with promises of comfort and safety, leading them away from the path until they are utterly alone. That is when the glamour fades, revealing a hideous, demonic creature with skin the color of dust and rot, and eyes that glow with a malevolent, hungry light. They are said to be the offspring of Iblis, the prince of darkness in Islamic tradition, cursed to an eternity of unholy appetite. Their teeth never stop grinding, and their hunger never ends. The ghoul's primary craving is for the flesh of the recently deceased. They haunt graveyards, their long, claw-like fingers digging through the earth to pull coffins from their resting places. They crack open the wood and feast upon the cold flesh within, leaving nothing but splintered bone and stained grave wrappings. Some tales claim that by consuming the dead, the ghoul can steal the deceased's memories and knowledge, becoming ever more cunning with each macabre meal. But their depraved tastes are not limited to the dead. When fresh corpses are scarce, the ghoul will hunt the living. It is especially drawn to the flesh of children, said to be a delicacy among these foul creatures. They will sneak into villages under the cover of night, stealing unattended infants from their cradles. They are also known to prey on the weak and the foolish. Anyone who dares to wander through their territory after the sun has set. To look into the eyes of a ghoul is to see an abyss of pure, ravenous hunger, a hunger that will not be denied. Would you walk through a graveyard at midnight, knowing something's still feeding? Number 5. Banshees, the Harbingers of Death. Have you ever heard a scream that chills your blood? A wail from the dead of night that seems to carry all the sorrow of the world within it. If you hear such a sound in the misty hills of Ireland, you might just be listening to the lament of a banshee. In Irish legend, the banshee is a spirit, almost always female, who wails when death is near. Her cry, known as a Caowain, pierces the night, mournful, haunting, impossible to forget. It's not a sound of aggression, but one of profound, soul-crushing grief. This isn't just any ghost. Her fate is tied to specific ancient families. The O'Briens, the O'Connors, the O'Gradys, and the Kavanaghs are among those said to have their own personal harbinger. If you belong to one of these bloodlines, her cry is meant only for you. But what does she look like? Accounts vary, creating a creature of shifting, terrifying forms. Sometimes she appears as a beautiful young woman with silver hair and eyes red from weeping, dressed in a spectral white or gray cloak. Other times, she is seen as a stooped, frightening old hag with a malevolent face, long stringy hair, and a single glaring nostril. And in her most ethereal form, she is nothing but a cloud of mist, a disembodied voice carried on the wind. She is often seen by a river or stream, washing the blood-stained clothes of the one who is about to die, a grim figure known as the Washer at the ford. The legends are filled with chilling encounters. One tale tells of a man traveling home late at night who saw a woman combing her long white hair by the roadside. Thinking she was in distress, he approached, only to see her face contort with sorrow as she let out a scream that froze him in place. He ran home, terrified, and the next morning he learned his brother had passed away in his sleep. The Banshee hadn't come to kill. She had come to mourn. Her cry is a prophecy, an inescapable omen. Some say she weeps to warn the living, a final act of spectral kindness, allowing families to prepare for their loss. Others say she comes to claim them, to guide their souls from this world to the next. Wherever her voice is heard, death always follows. Would you follow the sound of her cry, or cover your ears and pray? Number 4. Werewolves, the curse of the moon. When the full moon rises, beware the howl. For centuries, people feared the werewolf, humans cursed to transform into beasts under moonlight. The legend is ancient, whispered in hushed tones from the frozen forests of the north to the sun-scorched hills of the south. It speaks of a primal rage, an uncontrollable hunger, and a loss of all that makes us human. In medieval Europe, the fear was palpable. Villagers would bar their doors and shutter their windows, praying the dawn would come quickly. Silver bullets were forged to stop them, a symbol of purity against a corrupting evil. But before the gun, there was the curse and the scream of a man becoming something monstrous. The transformation is said to be an agony beyond comprehension. Bones snap and reshape, skin stretches and tears as coarse fur erupts from every pore. The mind, the very soul of the person, is consumed by a singular, bestial instinct to hunt. They become a perfect predator, a fusion of human cunning and lupin ferocity, let loose upon an unsuspecting world. Tales of the werewolf are not just stories of monsters. They are cautionary tales about the darkness lurking within humanity. The ancient Greeks told of Lycaon, a king turned into a wolf by Zeus as punishment for his cruelty. In France, the beast of Gavadon, a wolf-like creature, terrorized a rural province for years. Its true identity, a mystery that fueled nightmares and spawned countless theories. Was it a man or something else entirely? Some say the wolf lives inside all of us, a shadow self, a hidden savagery waiting for the right night to break free. It's a fear not of the monster outside, but of the monster within. The fear that, given the chance, we too could lose control, surrender to our darkest impulses, and become unrecognizable even to ourselves. Imagine the terror. One moment, you are yourself. The next, a gap in memory, a haze of red. You awaken in the cold morning light, the taste of copper in your mouth, dirt under your fingernails, and the chilling scent of death clinging to you like a shroud. If you woke up covered in blood, would you know whose it was? Number 3. Witches, the keepers of forbidden power. Have you ever wondered why witches were feared and not the monsters they fought? For centuries, they were whispers in the dark, figures of dread lurking at the edge of civilization. Witches were accused of dark pacts, sealing their souls to infernal forces in exchange for a sliver of unholy power. Midnight rituals were their sacrament, held in desecrated groves where the veil between worlds grew thin. They were said to dance with demons under a blood-red moon, their incantations twisting the very fabric of nature. Villages huddled in fear, blaming them for every misfortune. A failed harvest was not the result of drought, but a curse whispered on the wind. A sudden, violent storm was not a whim of nature, but the fury of a witch's wrath called down from a churning black sky. Plagues that swept through towns, leaving devastation in their wake, were seen as their malevolent handiwork, a grim toll exacted for some unknown transgression. The witch became the scapegoat for all of humanity's fear and ignorance. A vessel for the darkness they saw in the world and in themselves. From the shadowed forests of Germany's Black Forest to the windswept moors of Scotland, a grim paranoia took hold. The Malleus Maleficarum, or the Hammer of Witches, became a manual for persecution, turning suspicion into a death sentence. In Salem, neighbor turned against neighbor, and the accusations of young girls sent dozens to the gallows. Across Europe, thousands were hunted, tortured, and executed, guilty or not, for knowing too much, for being different, for simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time. They were burned at the stake, their ashes scattered to the winds, a terrifying warning to any who dared defy convention. But the essence of the witch is not so easily extinguished. It is an archetype of untamed power, of knowledge that defies the rigid structures of man. They are the keepers of ancient secrets, the wisdom of the earth, and the terrifying potential that lies dormant within us all. They are the shadow that proves the sun is shining, a reminder that some doors were never meant to be opened. And so, every Halloween, when the moon turns pale and the cauldron boils, they rise again in story and in spirit. They are in the rustling leaves that sound like a whispered spell, and in the sudden chill that runs down your spine. The fear they inspired lingers, a primal dread that a knowing glance or a muttered word could unravel your world. Would you seek a witch's help or her forgiveness? Number 2. Zombies, the walking dead. They were human once. In Haitian legend, zombies were corpses reanimated by sorcery, slaves to their masters, their will stolen, their bodies bound to a dark purpose. This was a fear born of bondage, a terror of losing one's soul while the body toiled on. They were a chilling metaphor for the loss of self, a fate many considered worse than death itself. Modern horror, however, turned them into something else entirely. They became monsters of infection and apocalypse. It started with a bite, a scratch, a single drop of contaminated blood. From one, they became two. From two, a horde, a relentless, shuffling plague that consumes civilizations, leaving only silence and ruin in its wake. They are the great equalizer, turning kings and commoners alike into the same shambling horror. This new zombie is a force of nature, a biological tidal wave with no master and no motive beyond a single gnawing imperative: to feed. They are a viral storm made flesh, stripping away everything we've built, every law we've written, every hope we've held. They represent the ultimate societal collapse, the end of order, and the violent birth of a new, brutal world governed only by the instinct to survive. They're our reflection, mindless hunger, endless survival. We see in their vacant eyes the dark potential that lies dormant within us all. In a world stripped bare of comfort and convenience, what animalistic urges would take hold? How quickly would our empathy erode when faced with constant life or death choices? The zombie is the person we sat next to on the bus, the neighbor who waved to us this morning, twisted into an unrecognizable predator. And maybe that's why we fear them most. They show us what we could become. They are not just monsters to be fought. They are a mirror held up to our own fragility. They remind us that civilization is a thin veneer, easily shattered. The true horror isn't the creature at the door, but the realization that the monster you're fighting might have once been a friend, a lover, a child, or worse, that you might be the next one to join their ranks. Your humanity erased, your memories gone, leaving only the hunger. If the world ended tonight, would you still be human tomorrow? Number 1. Vampires, the eternal predators. Beautiful, deadly, eternal vampires are the kings of Halloween horror, the perfect blend of charm and death. They are the apex predators of the night, masters of a darkness that both terrifies and seduces us. For centuries, their shadow has stretched across our collective nightmares, a constant reminder that some things refuse to die. From the Gothic spires of Dracula's castle in the Carpathian Mountains to the neon-drenched streets of modern cities, they feed on blood, hiding among us in the dark. They are the whisper in a crowded room, the fleeting shape in a dark alley. Their existence is a paradox, an elegant monster cloaked in civility, whose polite smile conceals an ancient, insatiable hunger. They walk among us, their true nature masked by a veneer of humanity, waiting for the sun to surrender the world to them. They never age, they never sleep, and they never stop craving life. Imagine an eternity of watching the world change, empires rise and fall, and loved ones turn to dust, all while you remain untouched by time. This curse of immortality is their greatest strength and their most profound torment. Each sunrise is a threat, forcing them back into the shadows, while every sunset is a rebirth, a call to the hunt. Their senses are impossibly sharp. They hear the frantic beat of a heart from across a street and see the pulse throbbing in a victim's throat in near total blackness. Their legend is not confined to one place or time. Every culture has a version of them, proof that deep down we've always feared what hides behind a smile. In Eastern Europe, they were the Strigoi, restless souls returning from the grave. In the Philippines, the viscera-sucking Menangle splits its own body to fly into the night. From the blood-drinking goddesses of ancient India to the ghostly Jiangxi of China, the fear of the life-draining undead is a universal terror. It speaks to our primal fear of being consumed, of having our very essence stolen by a predator that looks just like us. They are more than just monsters. They are a dark mirror reflecting our own deepest desires and fears. They represent the allure of eternal youth, forbidden knowledge, and untamed power. We are horrified by their monstrous thirst, yet a part of us is captivated by their freedom from mortality. They are the ultimate predator, the immortal aristocrat of the abyss. And their story is written in the blood of generations. If immortality meant drinking blood, would you take the bite? From the ghost in the machine to the shadow in the corner of your eye, these phantoms aren't just stories, they're reflections of us, our anxieties, our secrets, our fear of the unknown. Every time the lights flicker, they stir in the darkness. Because we call to them, we give them shape with our dread and substance with our belief. They are the echoes of tragedies we can forget, and the premonitions of futures we desperately want to avoid. Think about it. The vengeful spirit tethered to a place of pain. Is it not the embodiment of our own inability to let go of the past? The poltergeist lashing out with unseen hands, is it not the fury of our own repressed anger given a violent, chaotic form? These entities are more than just campfire tales. They are psychological artifacts, pieces of the human condition given a spectral form. They represent the ultimate loss of control. They fear that even in our own homes, in our own minds, we are not truly alone. They are the chilling whisper that reminds us of our mortality, the cold spot in the room that signifies a presence we can see but can acutely feel. They are the personification of that primal, nagging question: what comes after? Is it a peaceful void or something else? Something that waits and watches. These specters and apparitions rise from the graveyards of our own making, fueled by the energy we give them. They haunt the hallways of our history and the corridors of our minds. They are the static on the radio, the unexplained thump in the night, the fleeting shape you swear you saw in the mirror. They persist, generation, because the fears that created them have never really left us. They are timeless because our terror is timeless. Which of these spirits would haunt your waking moments? Let me know in the comments, and remember, every ghost story starts with someone who swore it was real.